Chad said, my name is Jill Lenahan. I was actually a K-5 teacher. I worked in a K-5 school for many years, and I found my way to Schoology a roundabout way. But I am so excited to be talking about this topic today. It is definitely something that is near and dear to me. And we are going to start with some introductions from the Park Hill School District. So we have Susan, Lindsay, and Aaron from Park Hill. So we are excited to hear from you. So it'd be great to have you ladies introduce yourselves.
Well, hi there. We are from Park Hill School District, as Jill mentioned. We are a suburb of Kansas City, Missouri. We have about 11,000 students in our school district. Today, I'm Susan Rizzo. I'm the Director of Instructional Technology, and I have two phenomenal gals with me today, Lindsay Stutzman right here and Aaron Smith. They are instructional technology facilitators, and they do incredible work in our classrooms with Schoology and instructional technology in general. We are one-to-one in grades 5 through 12 with Lenovo ThinkPad Yoga laptops. It's a 2-in-1. We get a lot of great functionality out of that. And right now, as far as Schoology, we have implemented in grades 6 through 12, and we are doing many pilots and what we're calling Schoology pioneers at our elementary level, as we are gaining some experience there and looking forward to rolling out full scale next year with Schoology at that level. So next year will be K-12. But we're very excited what we're already seeing in our pilot stages right here in Park Hill School District. So we're excited to be here today.
Well, we are very excited to have you, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I'm just going to leave the slide up just for a moment for all of our Twitter users out there. We do have everyone's handle up on the screen, and you will not want to forget to use the hashtag SchoologyLeap. And we're going to move right along over to Lee's Summit. And we're going to meet Kevin Whaley and Jill Rice from Lee's Summit. And I believe Kevin's going to give us a little bit of background on the district and what's happening on that side of the world.
Great, thank you, Jill. So my name is Kevin Whaley. I'm the Director of Instructional Technology with Lee's Summit Schools. Lee's Summit is just south of Kansas City. We are also a suburb. Our district is composed of around 18,000 students. Of course, half of those being elementary, which is the topic of the webinar today. I'm joined by Jill Rice, who is one of our instructional technology specialists. There are 4 total instructional technology specialists in the district. All of us have prior classroom experience. We're kind of charged with integrating technology to the best of our ability and maximizing our tech resources across the district. As far as Schoology goes, we implemented Schoology in our summer program this past June. We have secondary classes, and this was also the first year we were able to pilot online elementary enrichment classes for our 5th and 6th grade students. Schoology came to Lee's Summit because of the need to provide a product that crossed that K-12 spectrum. And so as we started looking for something where we could facilitate that elementary instruction, we replaced our previous LMS with Schoology, and we've been super happy. As we rolled into August, we had all of our teachers and students come back. We like to pull numbers quite a bit. We like to check our implementation. So far this year, we have simply said it's a tool for you to use. You don't have to use Schoology, but it's a resource. So our ITSs have worked really hard to train a high number of our staff members. In our recent data, it looks like in the last 30 days, we have roughly 1,200 kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade students using Schoology on a regular basis, and that kind of breaks down to 400 kindergarten students, just over 300 1st grade students, and 450 2nd grade students. So we're quite pleased. Our teachers, I think some things travel by word of mouth best among our teaching staff, as I'm sure you find in your districts. To those who are listening, it's sometimes best to let those things kind of grow on their own, and that's the success we've had so far here. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jill.
All right. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for that. And I really appreciate the numbers there. There's a very clear return on investment when we start to hear things like 1,200 students and all the way down to kindergarten and things like that. So it does make it very, very tangible and very clear that you are getting a return on your investment. And I like that you attribute a lot of that work to the staff because having those people in and out of classrooms in both districts, having that, what we often refer to as the instructional tech coach type position is really what helps teachers feel supported when they may be a little bit reluctant, as Brad said, to jump right into the Schoology pool. So I do appreciate the introductions from both groups, and we are going to actually get started on our first strategy. We have 6 strategies that we're going to talk about today. This first one we're going to hear about from Lee's Summit, from Jill, the other Jill, as I affectionately refer to her as, and she's going to talk about how they've removed the barrier of getting the little guys logged in. So Jill, why don't you take it away and tell us about what you've done to make the login process easier?
All right. So go Team Jill. We'll start out with that. Yeah, so I'm excited to be here today, really to be the voice of our department and the teachers in our district. The things I'll be sharing with you today are a culmination of just teamwork amongst that group. And if Jill wouldn't mind sharing, if you would allow me to share my screen, the first thing I'm going to do is pop into an actual teacher's course. And Mrs. Cantrell was so kind to allow me to use her course for just a minute to show you one of the first conversations that we have with teachers is just really how to organize their courses. So with our student information system, oops, let me show my screen, there we go. Now you can see it. With our student information system, a teacher and students will see the same view when they go into Schoology. So you can see how it creates a course for each content area that a teacher teaches. So for an elementary teacher, you can see they have quite a few courses to select from here. So depending on the teacher, some teachers choose to use each course individually, and some teachers decide to choose a course and kind of build their content out from that course, like the one that you're seeing here. So a couple things I wanted to point out, the importance of pictures when we're talking about primary students. Even though they grasp the concept and how to get to a course so quickly, adding pictures to identify a course, especially for teachers who are using multiple courses, is so important. And many of the teachers that I have seen, a lot of them will use just colors, so the kids know that math, they click on their red course to get to their math course. They click on their blue course to get to their reading course. So that's one of the first conversations that we have with teachers when we just start out with trainings on Schoology, was just kind of thinking through what's going to work best for them and their students. I'm going to pop over to our ITS website. Is something that we use in many trainings that we do, and even though when we do a Schoology training, we create a Schoology course, and we put a lot of these same resources in the course. This is just kind of a go-to place. Maybe a teacher's thinking about using Schoology and wants to just explore and maybe learn a little bit more about what it's all about, but they haven't been to a training. This is a great place for them to land. We refer teachers oftentimes to just the Schoology Help Center because of their awesome PD videos and their little bite-sized videos that can be great help for a teacher starting out with the tool. And then we've created some things that are just unique to our district. So this is one of my coworkers created this introducing students to Schoology in 10 steps. So this is a great resource for teachers to start out with, because what it does, it just walks them through logging in. And although this next screen will show you for our elementary kids, we use a single sign-on program called Clever, and Schoology is actually on their Clever ribbon. So once they log on to their Chromebook, they just have to go and find the S, and literally they do this one time, and you say Schoology, and they know exactly where they need to head. and that will get them right into Schoology, and they can jump into the course that their teachers want them to land in. And then just the second thing that we feel is so important is setting up profile pictures. Even, for little people, when they are in doing a discussion board or an assignment, it's so nice for them to be able to see faces. And we talk a lot about that with blended teachers, developing relationships with kids that sometimes you don't see very often. The face, just seeing a face, not a picture of their dog or the Kansas City Chiefs, even though that would be really awesome. Actually putting a picture of themselves in there so that they can just make a connection with the people that they're communicating with. So lots of teachers that's one of the first things that they'll have their kids do once they get in there is go ahead and use their Chromebooks to take a picture and then set up their profile picture. And oftentimes the teacher will ask about that, and if one of us is not available to go help them, this is a video that was created that will walk them through. A teacher can play it and pause it, and it's just short little steps that will help the kids get their picture added, and that's just something they have to do one time and they're ready to go. Some other things that we'll talk to them a little bit about is notifications. That's particularly important for teachers that have their kids using Gmail. And setting up notifications, and actually notifications is next. The next thing we have them do is just use the move feature in their courses. For teachers who are just going to use maybe one of their courses and build everything out in that course, having the kiddos move that course up to the top just makes it more comfortable for them. So we will show them how to arrange their courses and get the ones to the top that they're going to be using the most often. And then notifications, more so for secondary students, and we end this presentation with just setting up their mobile app and giving them some other pointers for that they can be aware of just as new users of Schoology, just to kind of like Brad and Jill called this, remove some barriers for teachers when they first start using the tool. The last thing I would just show real quick, and I just created a lot of things I'll show in this course. I created and I pulled from other courses, so it appears that I did all the creating, but many of these are ideas from our teachers. But when I pop into an assignment, I'll just show you on the teacher's end again the importance of pictures. So I've only had John turn this assignment in. So one of my coworkers was so kind to go ahead and do that. But I wanted to show you how the picture will show up. And then when you click integrate it, obviously the conversation that goes on, this was a multiple submission assignment because it's used as a journal writing. So every day the kid comes in here and submits, the student comes in and submits a new assignment. And the picture down here at the bottom, when all of your students have turned that in, you have a ribbon with all of their faces there, which just makes it really nice for the teacher to bounce around and just choose the students that work that they're wanting to see. The grade book is another awesome spot that you see pictures. So as you can see, pictures are pretty awesome. Once they get it added, just makes it much more personal, personalizes it a little bit more. And those are a few of the things that we have our teachers do, or just suggestions out of the gates to, like I said, just make it a little more comfortable.
Excellent suggestions there, Jill. And, you know, I definitely second the importance of those images. Believe it or not, about 5 minutes before I jumped into the session today, I was talking with my coworker about some teachers we're going to be working with very soon and stressing the importance of using images throughout the platform, especially for elementary grades. And we did have somebody in our audience today say that pictures are great for adults and older students as well. And of course, I could not agree with that anymore. So very, very good strategies for chunking things out and just taking our time, getting people started. We don't have to take all of this on at once. If we can just get people to log in and update those pictures, that's a very important first step. And then other things will follow from there. So I do appreciate what you've been able to share. We haven't had too many questions yet so far, so we are going to keep on moving through. I'm going to go ahead and grab the screen here, Joe, so that we can move on to the next slide. If I can get my mouse to work, there we go. All right. So we're going to hand it over to the folks from Park Hill, and they are going to talk to us. I'm sorry. We're going to stay with Jill. I apologize. I'm going a little out of order here. We're going to stay with Jill, and she's going to talk to us about how we use the audio-video tool that is native in Schoology for accounting practice, reading fluency, and some other things that she's doing with that with the teachers over there in Lee's Summit. So back to you, Jill.
Okay, fantastic. I have a couple more examples in the course that I built that I would like to share, and let me grab my screen again. So the audio-video tool has been pretty amazing with our primary grades and the ideas that our instructional technology department has worked with teachers to come up with. So I'm just going to click through a few and share some of the assignments. I'm going to click in just so you can see what they look like in here. So one of them is just called Listen to Me Read. And teachers, this has looked different in many classes. Some teachers have asked students to read a pre-selected piece of reading. It might be a cold read. It might be a book the kids have read before. It kind of depends on the purpose of what the teacher is wanting to find. And the kids, you can use audio. They love the video because boy do they love to see themselves on the camera. And so many of them choose to use the video option and record themselves reading and then submit that to their teacher. So we talk a lot about students get to listen to their teachers read, they get to listen to mom and dad read, they get to listen to friends read and brothers and sisters read, but very seldomly do they really get to listen to themselves read. And it's pretty amazing to watch them just kind of self-assess their own reading. And I think this particular assignment that I put in here, that the teacher had just a quick review of some of the things for the students to think about while they're reading, and just reminders for them before they get to do their fluency check. Some teachers have found quickly that they need to limit the number of tries a student gets, because some of them will, that was great, but I think I'm going to try it one more time. But just a time saver for teachers too. Obviously, teachers want to listen to their kiddos read on a regular basis, and by having them all do this in one foul swoop, and then it leaves it up to the teacher to listen when it's convenient for them, is a great time saver on the teacher's end. So that's one way that teachers have used the audio video. Another one is in math, and the learning target for our district, objectives learning target for kindergartners, they have certain counting goals for each quarter. So again, this would look, oftentimes a teacher would pull students aside one by one and have them count as high as they could to formatively assess that, or summatively assess that particular skill. And by using the assignment, the kids can click in here and they can do their counting and submit it to their teacher, listen to it back, and turn it in. Again, just a great time saver. And something that you can do often. Beautiful thing about assignments is you can have multiple submissions. So seeing growth throughout a skill is very easy by just having kids continuing to submit through the same assignment. Makes it easy for the teacher to see that growth. A few other examples. I'm going to pop into just a few Twitter examples. And these are just right from classrooms that we've been in from our department. Here is one of a student reading, and let me start it back here so you can hear.
Put in my pocket. I found seaweed.
So there is an awesome example of a fine young lady sharing her reading, obviously a pre-selected book that her teacher had asked her to read. Oftentimes that is a piece of writing that the student has done. Another example from one of my teammates this is from Julie, and she was in a building where the kids were using whiteboards to show off some of their math skills, and then using the video tool to share their thinking and taking kids through creating a short tutorial to teach classmates about a math skill that they wanted to share with them. Jeff shared this one. I thought this was such a unique idea. So this teacher had the kids, I wish I could remember the name of the song, had the students listen to a song and create mental images. And then they used their Lego kits to create and share those images that they found from listening to that song, and then they used the Schoology video, audio video, for just sharing their actual project they created and sharing it with their friends to see the awesome things that they came up with. And I think this last one is sharing a piece of their own writing. So the kids had written Halloween poetry, and this teacher asked them to just share their poetry online. And I'm sure these were via discussion boards so that the kids could easily listen to each other's reading and just publish it out there for their fellow students, and if parent access was on, for their parents to be able to listen to as well. So the video audio examples have been pretty awesome, and things that teachers have come up with to use in their classrooms for that Schoology tool. So those are several examples of things that have been going on.
Definitely, and we could certainly talk about that tool and in all the different ways it can be used to support instruction across all the grade levels. However, it is absolutely vital that that tool get used in the younger grades for all of the reasons that you said, Jill, and of course so many others. And I will say we offer a full course just on elementary uses of Schoology that all of our community can have access to. If they want to contact their PD specialist, we'd be happy to talk to you about that course. And we go very in-depth on the idea of using that audio-video tool, whether it's assignments, discussions, or whatever the case may be. And we did have a participant put into the chat here that they are using it for quizzes as well. So certainly the potential is unlimited there. Now, Jill, you mentioned parents, and I'd like to hear from both districts here about parents, because that question has already come up in our chat today, and it came up quite a bit this morning. So, Jill, we're going to give you just a break for a moment. I know you've been talking a lot. We're going to hear from Erin and Lindsay on what they're doing with parents, and then Jill will bring it back to you, and then we'll move on to our next strategy.
Perfect.
So here in Park Hill right now, like we said, we just really started our implementation back in August. So we are doing a pilot group right now with our elementary students. So we have Schoology pioneers is what we're calling them. So teachers that were interested in using this, using Schoology with their students this year. So we are going to be implementing the parent aspect next year, but we're hopeful that we're going to be doing some piloting with the Schoology pioneer parents later on in the spring this year. But I think that is the biggest aspect that our elementary teachers are most excited about, is making sure that those parents have access, just because parents at elementary have such a hand in what's going on in their students' lives at school. They want to be in the know of what's going on, and they want to be helping their students at home. So our elementary teachers are really, really excited about that.
And we wanted them to feel comfortable in Schoology before we invited parents in. So that was our hope this year. We'll get them in there, and then parents will be able to see what's going on next.
Great. And Joe, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you're handling parents over at Lee Summit?
Sure. We actually just turned parent access on. Like Park Hill, we kind of wanted teachers to get comfortable with the Schoology themselves before we invited parents in. So Kevin had the great idea of rolling that out right before parent-teacher conferences, because all of the teachers would be talking to parents, and they could share information about how the parent access works. So again, totally optional for teachers, but just something to remember if, especially for older students, once parent access is on, if one teacher decides to use it, a parent has access to all of the students' courses. So elementary, that's a little different story, but several of our teachers passed out that information at conference time and just welcomed parents on board so that they could start seeing what was going on in Schoology.
That's such a good strategy, and we recommend that on our end as well, and getting parents signed up during parent conferences, back to school night, things like that. A good friend of mine is actually a tech coach in a neighboring district, and she sat at the high school in the computer lab, and as parents were coming for back to school night, she took that opportunity not only to get parents registered, but also to educate parents on what they can be looking for in Schoology, which is an important piece of the puzzle, regardless of what grade we're working with there. So certainly a lot of potential to really streamline that communication and make life a lot easier for the teachers, because once they're putting it in Schoology, they don't then have to go make a copy to put in folders to then send home. Once it's in Schoology and our parents have access, that's half the battle right there. And you're really making the life of the teacher easier, I believe, without having to send them to the copier. We all know that's that's a huge issue wherever I've worked and or done a job like this. So lots of good stuff on parents. Thanks to both groups. I am going to put the spotlight on Park Hill because they have a really phenomenal strategy that they're doing with their book talks and incorporating Schoology discussion. So ladies, go ahead and take it away.
Sure. So part of Erin and I's job is to really help teachers make sure that they're integrating technology with our different curriculum. So we focus a lot on not making technology an event, but something that just happens in our class very naturally. So a big part of our curriculum, especially at the elementary level, is readers and writers, and even math workshops as well. And part of that in some of our different grade levels, a big section of that, or a huge unit of that, is book clubs. So some of our Schoology pioneers have been utilizing the different discussion features with their different book clubs, which has been really, really nice. So what we've done is helped our teachers create grading groups within Schoology so they can have separate discussions and separate assignments for their different book clubs that they have. So teachers go in and divide their kids up based on the books that they're reading, and then they set them up in Schoology so they can actually have discussions amongst their book talk groups with each other, but also with the teacher as well. So that's something that our teachers have really, really, really loved, is being able to differentiate those different conversations and the things that are happening within the book clubs and letting them happen naturally among the students, but also being directed by the teachers as well. So that's been really great. After that kind of evolved in the fall this year, some of our schools participate in Books Are Fun, right? Books are fun. Reading is fun. And people bring in books for our students to read there. And what our students noticed were that a lot of the books that were provided by the Reading is Fun were books that they had just read in their book clubs in their classroom. So students kind of came up with the idea that, wow, you know, we can get these books, but we want to share kind of like a book trailer and share with other students in our school, or maybe students who will be in our grade level next year, about what these books are and kind of give them a preview. So we helped the teacher kind of devise a plan of how she can help students make these book trailers. And what we did is we helped her design just a little script that we actually created in Google Classroom. Students collaborated together to come up with a script for their little book trailers. And then we used revideo to make the book trailers, and then students submitted those through Schoology. So the teacher had access to all of them. She was able to put those all in a spreadsheet that she's able to share with other teachers and classrooms within her school. We were talking a little bit earlier about how of the possibilities of, you know, next year when we have more teachers on board, she could use those, we could create a group. So we could even have book clubs that are going across the district amongst teachers, and really utilizing those and sharing those out. So it's been a really cool thing that we've seen happen, but it's just been so nice to have Schoology kind of be our one-stop shop where students know where they go to submit things, where they can access things and everything to connect with other students. So it's been really, really beneficial, but those grading groups have been awesome for our teachers to differentiate in their classroom.
Thank you. Very, very powerful suggestion when we start talking not only about what's happening in our classrooms and our grade level, but now we're incorporating this idea of cross grade level collaboration. We're giving students a lot of ownership over this project, it sounds like, where they pick the books they read, they create their own video, and then they share them with other teachers. And you know, I can't think of a better phrase here, but when a student hears a recommendation from another student, you know, they're really hearing it from the quote-unquote horse's mouth there. And that's a lot more meaningful than mom or teacher or whoever else saying, hey, here's a great book, you should read it. You know, seeing what the other students have to say about those books, I believe can really go a long way to generate excitement about books and just reading in general. So certainly a worthwhile use of Schoology to use that assignment and then to also take advantage of those collaboration features that are offered in the platform as well. So we did, I'm sorry, did I interrupt someone?
I said definitely.
Oh, great. Agreed. And we did have a question come up that I want to just pause here to address, because we were talking about parents, and before we go any further in talking about these powerful strategies, I'd like to know how you guys are addressing the lack of internet and or lack of devices in the home.
Yeah, I'll let Susan take that. What we've kind of talked about and what we've done in our district when students don't have access to the internet.
So we are one-to-one in grades 5 through 12. So our fifth graders have access to a device, but not always the internet. At the fifth grade level, what we do is they have options we give them an entire list of the places around our community that have free Wi-Fi. And then we also have received a Sprint grant, and we have 400 hotspots that we're able to check out to families so that they can use over the term of the year. So that's been really great, and we plan on expanding that as the years progress. But as far as our K-4 students that don't necessarily have a device to take home, we also talk about the different things that places where they can go and use computers. Mid-Continent Library here in the Northland is a great place for them to do that, and we have other options as well. But our students also have different options when they have homework to do or things to work on. Teachers will give them options for what that looks like. You can do it this way or that way. We're really big on voice and choice. Sometimes it might not be their choice as far as they would like to, so we try to make sure that they have those opportunities inside the classroom if they don't have access.
I think something else that's really great too is the mobile app on Schoology. So I think what we found is even our younger students, if they don't have internet access at home, that maybe their parents have a smartphone or something like that, where teachers can direct parents, you know, hey, you can grab the Schoology app and have your student log on that way. So we try to give them lots of different options. We know, of course, that sometimes none of those options are going to work, and that's just one of those things that you have to deal with on a case-by-case basis.
Definitely. And we have a suggestion here coming in from from one of our participants, where community businesses are providing internet at a reduced cost. And I have heard of that happening in my community as well, so that folks can get internet access for as low as $10 a month. So in some cases, that's going to be beneficial as well. And I know Jill's going to share some things here, and I will say one last thing before I hand it back to her. I have also heard of districts putting hotspots on buses so that students can work from their phones or their Chromebooks or whatever they have on the school bus. Especially in rural communities, the bus commute can be somewhat lengthy so that if the students are on there for a little bit of time, they can pop open that Chromebook, that laptop, whatever it is, and do a little work there as well. And I want to hear from Lee's Summit now about what they're doing to address the lack of device, lack of internet issue.
Hey, thanks, Jill. I do want to throw out a plug for a resource that as district leaders you might want to go take a look at if you haven't heard about it. It's called everyoneon.org. Again, that's everyoneon.org. That's a great starting point for your district to go and look to see, partners, creative ways in which you could connect your families without internet access. We're really fortunate at Lee Summit. We have less than 10% of our student population that doesn't have internet access. If we broke that down further, a lot of that population is brothers and sisters, so we're thinking we're sitting pretty low as far as who doesn't have internet. Just like Park Hill does, we print a list, we have a map that says where students can go to get internet. Our Executive Director of Technology, Amy Gates, she's reaching out, working with some of our large apartment complexes to get them to work with different providers to provide internet access at a minimum just for our students with Chromebooks. You mentioned Wi-Fi on buses. We do have several backpacks in the district that, as of now, they're being used for sporting events or activities or field trips where a teacher, a sponsor, a coach can request a backpack to be brought on the school bus so students would have internet access on the road. So there are several ways. You also mentioned discount internet. We found that most of our service providers in Lee Summit are very willing to work with our students. Time Warner Cable, Comcast, Google Fiber. We have each of those. We have AT&T. Each of those is available in Lee Summit depending on which part of town you're in. And typically a simple reach out on behalf of the family to the company to explain whether it's a free and reduced lunch status situation or just the need for a lesser speed of internet. So a combination of those things has worked really well for us. Also, like Park Hill, would like to throw out another plug for the mobile app of Schoology. Whether it's an iPad, a phone, a Nexus tablet, whatever that might be, we do encourage our kids to use the mobile app because typically they will have access to cell service, even if they can't hotspot it to use their Chromebook. And so far, so good as far as kids being able to complete their work outside the school day.
Great strategies there, and I will also chime in and say personally I love the mobile app myself. So glad to hear that that's getting a lot of use in both districts. So we are going to move on now to our next strategy, which I think is probably my favorite thing because anybody who knows me at Schoology knows that I absolutely love media albums, and I can think of ways to use them in my sleep. So we're going to have Jill talk about how they're using media albums to share their work, to sort and classify over in Lee's Summit. So Jill, you have the floor, and I'll give you the screen in just a moment. Let me get myself situated here.
And actually I have one slide, I think, one more slide there with an example. Yeah, so this is, and I would agree with Jill, media albums, I think once a teacher tries it, and realizes the amazing power that media albums can have, they are so sold on that tool. And I think I have like 3 teacher examples to show here. This is a first grade class, and so I was lucky to get to join them the day they did this lesson. So the teacher and I team taught a lesson on Google Draw first. So these images are all coming from the Google Drawings, and we're Google Apps for Education, so most of the kids are pretty familiar with those tools. This happened to be the first day that these first graders were in Google Draw. So they have been studying hard, working hard on their long and short vowel sounds, so they got to create images for each of those and then add it to the appropriate album. You can see they used their caption tool. Love the caption tool because I think that allows students to dive even deeper by wrapping text around their image that they put in, and so they named their, they used the caption tool to name their particular picture and sort it into the correct album. So they did a fantastic job of using Google Draw for the first time. We did a lot that day in an hour setting with first graders. I have a couple other examples, and let me show my screen here. This, let's see, I think the other two that I have are actually science examples. So one of these just happened yesterday, so it appears that I created all of these when I open it, but these are student examples. I just went and grabbed them from their teacher's course, and they were working on states of matter. So again, they used Google Draw to create their organizer here. So did a lesson talking about particles and the difference between solid, liquid, gases, and then they used their image feature to go out and sort images into the correct category, and then published them to an album for their classmates to see. So they had so much fun doing this, and then looking to see what ideas their classmates came up with for their solid, liquid, gas sort activity. And I left before they were completely finished with this, so the edit caption, I'm not sure the text that the teacher had them add there, but I know she was going to have them caption it as well. The other science example is a scientific method. So the kids are working on learning the scientific method, and they're getting ready to conduct experiments. So the teacher had them submit their ideas with a picture, and then they use the caption tool to share their hypothesis. A lot of these needed reworked, so they talked about them as a group, talked about the good things they could change to make it maybe even a better experiment. I love the comment feature. I'm not sure how this lesson ended, but the comment feature would be a great way for the students conducting the experiment to keep people caught up with how it was going, or post questions. Again, so many different ways that you could use that. Many of the examples I had kids' pictures, and so I didn't share them as examples, but kids love to have themselves in the images as well. So I know a teacher did an artifact activity where the kids took a picture of themselves with an artifact that they had to caption and share specific things that the teacher was looking for. Shapes, taking a picture of a shape of something in their class and then posting it to a media album for others to see, and just wrap learning around it, are a few of the ideas and things that have been going on in our primary classrooms with the media album tool.
Wonderful. So we have a really good suggestion about media albums coming in our chat area. First of all, another plug for mobile, and the way that the camera roll is built in on a mobile device. You're going to go ahead and be able to really use the media album very seamlessly on mobile. If you haven't tried it, it's definitely something worth trying on your smartphone or whatever you might have available to you. And we also have the suggestion of, when you're creating media albums, assign a student job as being the class photographer, so they can go around, take pictures during events, during the day, something like that. Again, we're talking about student ownership here, putting them in charge of the learning. We also talk about choice and voice for teachers and students. This is another example of how that can come to fruition. And it doesn't have to be the media album. I happen to think it's a great place to display images, but if you have that role as class photographer, you can have them upload to the media album, or maybe put in a discussion, post as an update, or whatever the case may be. So all very, very good ideas on what we can be doing with the media albums and the sorting. Just looking over some of the questions here. All right, and we might save a handful of those to the end. Keep the questions coming in. One other thought on the media album, and I got this idea from my daughter, who's in first grade. She brought home a paper with needs and wants, and she clipped out the little images from one paper, it looked like, and then glued them onto the other. Very tactile, very sensory, just fine for first grade. But if you ever wanted to digitize an activity like that, I think the media album is a great place to do so, because I know Needs and Wants is taught in first grade, and I think maybe even a little bit in second and third grade, if I can remember that far back. So just another idea from my personal perspective as well. Jill, any final thoughts on that strategy or the media album before we move on to the next idea?
No, I would just encourage people to give it a try, because I think a lot of people, it's one of the last tools oftentimes that teachers will delve into, so I feel like they're missing out if they're not using it.
Agree. So give that one a try if you've not tried it yet. All right, we are going to turn it back over to Park Hill. They have a really creative way that they are differentiating within Schoology. So I'm gonna have them elaborate on that strategy. We're going to hear about math here. We've talked a couple things about reading. It's time to put math in the spotlight.
All right, we have one of our fourth grade teams at one of our buildings that loves to differentiate for math. So for each unit, they like to pre-assess their students, figure out where they are, and then split those kids among the 3 different teachers so that they can meet those kids where they're at. So we'll have one teacher be more of the enrichment, one for practice, and one for remediation. And Schoology was just the perfect fit for that because, like we were saying in the very beginning, our courses are created through our SIS, our Student Information System. So the ones created automatically only have that teacher and those 25 students or so. And so what they were wanting was to create a team course so that all students, all 75 kids and the 3 main teachers would be able to be part of this one course, so that for each topic, as you'll see in the next slide, they have each topic, which is what they call each unit within their math resource, is listed there. And within those folders, they are able to provide different PDF resources, different links to games or practice things, different assignments, different discussions for each of the various differentiated groups. The great thing that we love about this is they use the grading groups to, again, sort those kids out each topic. And what they're able to do is those kids, while they go to different classes, it still looks the same on their Schoology. So if Lindsay was in one group and I was in a different group, and we both log into Schoology, we both see topic 1 and topic 2 and topic 3. However, when we go in there to those folders, that's when the students see the different things associated with whatever their grading group is. So the teachers love it, the kids love it, because they're able to, the kids don't really know any different, and it makes it super easy for the teachers. So they love the grading groups, and I know this is a 4th grade team. And so next spring, in January, when we come back from break, they want to try doing those pre- and post-assessments online in Schoology. Because currently they're doing them on paper, and they are just diving more and more deeply into Schoology and want to try it out so they can get that access to that immediate feedback and the different grading statistics, and hopefully help them do some formative assessment on there as well.
Excellent. I could not be a bigger advocate for moving those pre-tests into Schoology, because, like you said, you're going to get that data back immediately, and again, all kidding aside, you're not standing in front of that copy machine making the copies for the pre-assessment. So I feel like you guys have a good rollout strategy. You started this, you're already differentiating, you're already doing RTI. That's something that teachers were comfortable doing. We're just taking that into the digital space, and now we're going to start assessing in the digital space semester 2. I think that's a nice way to ease folks into the platform without overwhelming them with, we're going to do our tests in here, we're going to do all of our RTI in here, and here's a group, and here's a course, and that can be very overwhelming to some of the folks who are reluctant to get on board. But January is a perfect time to get started with a new initiative like putting your tests and quizzes into Schoology. So certainly a worthwhile thing to consider for anybody out there who's looking for something new to try. With that being said, we do have one more strategy that we are going to talk about. We're going to go back to reading here, and we're going to talk about a creative way to use question banks for comprehension assessment. And that idea came from a first grade teacher over in Lee Summit. So we're going to put Jill back on to talk to us about that.
All right. So yes, this idea came from a first grade teacher, Mr. Wingert, and he's always blowing my socks off with his ideas. So he actually took a class over the summer, and the teachers got to start working in Schoology and came up with the idea of creating question banks with children's books, videos, just YouTube videos. I'm going to open, this actually is not the quiz, but it'll give you an idea of kind of what his question bank looks like. So he went to YouTube and found children's books that would work for first graders. So you can see he just has a collection of books, and he tied one multiple choice question to each one of these. It's the same one, and the kids kind of rate the book. Did you like the book? And then what he does is he ties that to, I'm going to go back to kind of what it would look like for the students. So when he creates a quiz, he pulls them from that question bank and just randomizes the books, has it pick one of the videos from that question bank, and then he has created other question banks that just tie to his learning targets that the kids are working on. So if I were to open this again, it would be a different video. So this student is going to read this book, and he's going to answer a question. It looks like they're working on maybe some text-to-self skills, and answer the question that goes with that. Then the kids can get in small groups. They each have a unique story to tell, because they have all read different stories, and the skills and ideas and things that have come from that will all be different, because if there's 20 kids, each of those students read a different book. So I thought that was just an awesome way to use a question bank for primary students that you could use over and over again. And I wanted to quickly share, I'm going to jump into our back to Schoology and jump into groups and just show you as an example for Mr. Wingert. When he did that, one of the first things I said was, would you mind sharing that with other kindergarten teachers in the Kindergarten Collaboration Cafe. So we made one of these for each grade level group, and it just kind of gives them each their own hub. Very seldomly do teachers from all 18 schools get together and share ideas. So this gives them, there's 83 teachers in here. That doesn't mean we have 83 kindergarten teachers, but probably close to all of our kindergarten teachers have joined this group, along with maybe reading teachers, principals, special ed teachers, anyone that would find value in this group and what's added here. So the update is pretty awesome. It just kind of runs by, I know Julie has posted something here on coding. Teachers, we have a lot of teachers coding right now, and just searching for some other ideas, and you can see some other teachers jumped in here and shared their ideas and resources wrapped around that topic. So the update stream is pretty powerful. The resource area is another place that we kind of created the structure of this and put the folders in here, and then just encourage teachers to drop Schoology tools in here, things that they're using with their kids for others to use. So we have some district rubrics that are the same for all teachers. So instead of having 10 teachers create 10 rubrics, once we grab one that we know have created one, we can ask them to add it to the cafe, and then everybody kind of reaps the benefits of them sharing that resource. So the resource area is a place that we just encourage teachers. A lot of times I'll drop something in there, and then they'll post an update so other teachers know what's available. And then just real quick, the albums. What we've tried to do as an instructional technology department, as we, in the last 8 weeks, we have been in every K1 and 2 classroom in our district. After Christmas, we'll be in 3-4, and later in the spring, we'll be in 5-6. But as we see ideas, like there's, if we go into math here, these are just quick snapshots that we take. We also tweet these out with our hashtag, R7C2L, and just drive teachers here if they're looking for ideas. So if we have a teacher we're getting ready to meet with, and they're like, here's my content, but I'm not sure what I want to do with that, this is a great place for them to come back and land. And you'll see, I'll just share this. He looks like he is super excited about what's going on in his classroom that day. And not all of these, many of these are Schoology examples, but some of them are just other technology tools that are being used. So we just tried to create a resource for teachers to go to and just start seeing what Schoology is all about. And this is really what has kind of sparked a lot of the excitement that we have going on with our primary teachers.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think the young boy with the 2 thumbs up, it really doesn't get much better than that as far as I'm concerned. So I'm so glad that that he was excited and everything is working out for you guys and your Schoology implementation over there. So we have come to the end of our strategies that we were planning on sharing today. And it is now a little bit of time left for some questions from the group. And I want to start off with something that came up while the ladies from Park Hill were talking to us about that differentiation in the grading groups. How cumbersome is it to get those grading groups set up? Go ahead and address that for us, ladies.
Oh, it's so easy. Yeah, like amazingly easy. We've had other LMSs in the past, and grouping was horrible. And this is literally just clicks of a button. And the nice thing about Schoology is it really is, as soon as you click Create Grading Group, you literally just pick the kids you want, and they're magically in a group. And it's so easy to assign things to that specific group.
Yeah. I don't know if we have time to kind of walk you through that today, but if you go into a course and click on Members, over on the right-hand corner, it says Create a Grading Group, and that's all you do is you open it up, you choose the kids you want in that group, and then you name it. And then as soon as you assign a discussion or an assignment or anything like that, you can decide what groups you want to have which assignments. And we were talking today, you know, it's even possible for some of your students who have accommodations for different assessments or things that they do on an IEP, you can create a grading group of 1. And those students never know that what they're seeing is different from the other students. So I think that that can really help students no matter where they are. So I think that's a really cool feature. So I think Jill's kind of clicking through here how you can maybe get to those groups.
Yeah, and I will show you, you're absolutely right. It's not cumbersome at all. It is in fact quite simple. So I'm in one of my courses here, and I'm going to go to the left-hand side on the Members button. And these are the members of my course. So on the right-hand side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select Organize Members into Grading Groups. I'm going to give my group a name, and I'm just putting in team name there. And then whichever, these are adults, but whichever students you click on, they're automatically being added to the group. Now, this is a live course that I'm currently teaching, so I'm not actually going to create the grading group. But once I select that Create Grading Group button, this group would then be created, and I could assign that to a discussion to them. I could assign a quiz to them or whatever I might need. And I am a huge advocate for using the grading groups for students with and without accommodations. It's just another way that teachers' lives are going to be easier. They have everything in Schoology. It's not like students with accommodations need to have something completely different. They're going to log into Schoology. They're going to see a folder and click right in, just like any other student would. Students can be in as many groups as you like, and you can mix and match these. You know, they can be in more than one group, like a novel study versus a math group. Lots and lots of potential here to differentiate by choice, by ability level, and the list goes on and on and on. And I'm going to check and see what other questions we have coming up. We have a request here. We would love to be able to post an update to a specific grading group. I've heard that one before. That's a good one for sure.
You know, Jill, one thing I will point out for those on the line who've been with Schoology for a while is remember that this summer Schoology added the ability to individually assign or assign to grading groups pages. So that can actually be a pretty interesting way to send a message to a specific grading group, is put a page at the top of your course and assign it just to that group. It's sort of a cool alternate solution to wanting to post an update to a group, is using those pages almost like updates.
Good strategy. Brad, other questions that have come in throughout that we might want to take a little bit of time here to answer?
Well, I think you all did a great job at answering some of the previous questions about parents and things like that. One question that has come up in this session in the past is, which might be a good one to wrap up with, is the culture of digital citizenship and how that is kind of woven into all of these areas. Sometimes you start hearing that term more with older students when people are actually on social media and those things. But are there things that you are doing with your youngest learners to instill a responsible digital citizenship practices from the get-go, right out of the gate?
We can start on that. Yes, we focus a lot on digital citizenship. We really hit it very hard, obviously, starting in 5th grade when our students have their own device. But we start those conversations and practices as early as kindergarten. Some of the resources that we provide for our teachers and kind of help them with digital citizenship is through Common Sense Media. So our students that are one-to-one, they spend some time going through digital citizenship at the beginning of the year. But we also really reiterate to our teachers that this is an ongoing conversation that you're having with your kids. It's not something that you just hit at the beginning of the year and then send them on their way with their laptop. But it's conversations that you have with your kids constantly. We know at the elementary level how important it is to set up those procedures and those expectations early on in the year. We spend significant time with our teachers talking about the same thing with the devices. We have to set up the expectations with not just how you act and behave online, but just small things, how you carry a device when you're in the classroom, how you move about the room. All of those things we start in kindergarten, and it just builds as the students get older.
And I would say ditto to everything that Lindsay said, and we too use Common Sense Media, and we also, one thing that we have done, this is totally optional, but we create something called the Chromebook Academy. We encourage, and this is actually posted on that link on our ITS site if anyone wants to take a look at it. We do exactly what Lindsay said. It walks the kids through how to care for a device. It talks about Google Apps for Education, has a slide about how to log into Schoology, but it also has lots of digital citizenship things embedded in there. And again, we just encourage our teachers to think of digital citizenship as a daily conversation, not as an event. It's just something you constantly talk about when you're using technology.
Very nice. Well, thank you very much. Well, Jill, we're at the end of our hour here, and it looks like the questions have slowed down. I would just want to thank you, Jill, for leading this, and our panelists today as well for bringing such great insight. Just watching the questions here, I know a lot of people have gotten a lot of cool ideas out of it and things that they can take back with you, and on the Twitterverse as well. And Jill, you might be muted if you are wrapping up.
Everything I just said was brilliant, by the way. So I was just saying thank you to Brad for allowing me to be on LEAP today and to talk about what he knows is my favorite topic, Schoology in the elementary grades. It is something I am quite passionate about. I think that we have had some excellent strategies shared. I thank our panelists for the time that we put into planning the session and the time that they spent to be with us for 2 sessions today. And to our audience, I hope that you have enjoyed your time with us. I hope that you've learned quite a bit. And if you still want to learn more about Schoology in the elementary grades, we are happy to accommodate that. Just reach out to us. Reach out to your professional development specialist. We can get you set up. We have a 2-hour course that we will spend going over all these strategies and just a few more. So for anybody that's interested in that, we would love to hear from you. That is all the time we have for today, and I appreciate everyone being here. Have a wonderful evening, and stay warm if you are in one of the cold areas. Take care, everybody.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.